Dorothy Kilgallen was a force to be reckoned with. As a prominent journalist, TV personality, and a fearless investigative reporter, she had earned a reputation for uncovering hidden truths and exposing corruption. By the 1960s, she was one of the most recognized figures in American media, known for her bold writing in the New York Journal-American and as a regular panelist on the popular television show What's My Line. Her investigative work, however, was not without risks. Kilgallen was not afraid to tackle controversial topics, and one of the most infamous of her pursuits was her investigation into the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Kilgallen was one of the first journalists to question the official narrative surrounding the death of JFK. Her interest in the case grew after she attended the trial of Jack Ruby, the man who killed Lee Harvey Oswald, Kennedy's alleged assassin. She believed that there was more to the story than the public was being told, and she was determined to uncover the truth, even if it meant challenging powerful figures. Her investigations led her to uncover strange discrepancies in the accounts of the assassination, raising questions about the involvement of certain individuals. Kilgallen reportedly had access to confidential information, including secret interviews and documents, which she believed could prove that the assassination was not the work of a lone gunman. There were whispers that she was getting too close to revealing a dangerous conspiracy. Some even claimed she had gathered evidence that could implicate high-ranking officials in a cover-up. But the more she dug into the mystery, the more the pressure mounted. Kilgallen's articles on the Kennedy assassination made waves, and soon, she found herself at odds with some of the most influential and powerful people in the country. She had made enemies, people who might have had everything to lose if her investigation came to light. Then, in November 1965, Dorothy Kilgallen's life took a tragic turn. It was the night of November 8, 1965, when Kilgallen's body was discovered in her New York City apartment, lying face up on the floor next to her bed. She was 52 years old. At first glance, her death seemed like the result of a simple overdose or perhaps an unfortunate accident. But the circumstances surrounding her death were far from ordinary, and questions soon arose. The police found no signs of forced entry into her apartment, and there was no obvious cause of death. There were prescription pills nearby, but none of them were in quantities that would have been lethal. The initial cause of death was ruled as an overdose, but there was no concrete evidence to support this conclusion. Kilgallen's family, friends, and colleagues were immediately suspicious. They didn't believe the conclusion was so simple. Kilgallen had been in high spirits just days before her death. She had been working on her investigation into the JFK assassination, reportedly writing a book about the case that was nearly finished. She had even mentioned to friends that she was close to exposing a major secret, something that would shake the nation to its core. She had been adamant that she had found something explosive, and it was only a matter of time before she revealed it. However, the night before her death, Dorothy Kilgallen had dinner with her close friend, actress and singer Judy Garland, where she seemed unusually withdrawn. Garland later described their conversation as odd, though Kilgallen had not mentioned any threats or fears. Still, there was something haunting in her demeanor that evening. Kilgallen had made one final phone call to her mother before retiring to bed. It was a call that left her mother in distress, as Dorothy had sounded nervous, perhaps even fearful. The days that followed her death saw a rush of media attention, but the investigation quickly turned cold. The more Kilgallen's colleagues looked into her death, the more they became convinced that foul play was involved. Some close to her suggested that she had been murdered to silence her investigation into the JFK assassination. They believed that someone had wanted to stop her from exposing the truth, someone with the power to cover up the evidence she had been gathering. Rumors began circulating that Kilgallen had been working with an informant, someone who had given her access to highly classified material, possibly implicating figures within the government in the assassination plot. Some believed she had information that was so explosive it could bring down entire political networks. But just before she was about to reveal what she had learned, she was silenced. Adding to the intrigue was the fact that Dorothy Kilgallen was in possession of a number of confidential documents, some of which were reportedly missing after her death. Kilgallen's research into the Kennedy assassination was said to have included a file on Jack Ruby, the man who had killed Oswald, which she was planning to release in an article she was working on at the time of her death. Her colleagues reported that she had mentioned the file repeatedly, hinting that it contained dangerous information that would alter everything. As the investigation into her death continued, multiple theories emerged. Some believed she had been murdered by powerful figures who felt threatened by the possibility of her exposing the truth. Others speculated that her death was linked to her addiction to sleeping pills, though this theory was challenged by many who knew her well, as they claimed she had not been taking a dangerous amount of medication. One of the most unsettling aspects of Kilgallen's death was the involvement of the media. There were reports that certain journalists had been told to avoid covering her death in any detail, and some stories were mysteriously pulled from the papers in the following days. The press reluctance to explore the true nature of her death only fueled suspicions that something sinister had occurred. Years later, theories continued to swirl. Some believed that Kilgallen's investigation was cut short by a shadowy figure in a powerful position, someone who had the means and the motive to eliminate her before she could release her findings. Others think that Kilgallen's death was simply a tragic consequence of her involvement in a dangerous game, one in which the stakes were higher than anyone realized. To this day, the truth behind Dorothy Kilgallen's mysterious death remains elusive. Was it a tragic overdose, an unfortunate accident, or was she murdered to keep her from revealing the truth? The case remains open, and with each passing year, the mystery grows more profound. As more files on the JFK assassination are declassified, perhaps the pieces of the puzzle that Kilgallen was trying to assemble will finally come together. But for now, the questions remain. Was she silenced? Was she too close to uncovering the truth? Or was her death just another tragic chapter in a world that often prefers to keep its darkest secrets hidden? The answers may never come, but one thing is certain. Dorothy Kilgallen's legacy as a fearless reporter and her quest for justice continues to captivate the minds of those who seek the truth.